You're listening to the Imperfectly Perfect Weddings podcast, a show that educates, informs, and entertains couples planning their wedding. I'm Brendan Creaser, a wedding photographer from the Mornington Peninsula, and I'm sitting down with wedding vendors to share stories of past weddings, to hear the lessons they've learned and how to make an impact on your day. Hello and welcome to another episode of Imperfectly Perfect Weddings podcast. Today I've got a guest, Michael Briggs from the Yarra Valley. He's an incredible photographer. He's a muso. He's a cook as well. A couple of surprises in there. But probably most notably and most importantly, Briggsy, you're probably the unofficial mayor of Yarra Valley. My first question, when are you going to become the actual mayor of Yarra Valley? Is it on the cards?
I hope so, man. I hope so. Yeah.
That's the dream job that you're working towards.
Yeah, totally. That's my exit plan out of wedding photography. I'll get into politics. Yeah. We even have thanks for having me on, by the way. Yeah. I don't even know if we have mayors in do we or is that
it's probably a bit more localized thing? It might be I think we do, but they don't really do much. They sit on council and make some decisions and rock up to board meetings. From memory, I mean, this is turning into a political conversation pretty quickly. I don't even know if it's a paid position actually, so you might be better off in wedding photography. I think you just sacrifice your time.
I should apply for it.
You might get it.
Yeah.
But the Yarra Valley, is it always, you're kind of born and bred there, grown up, you know the place back to front?
Yeah, I know it pretty well. I live in the Shire. I live in the Yarra Ranges, Yarra Ranges. I actually just, for the people who live like out in the bush, people who live in Hillsville or Warburton, they would look at me and say that I'm a city slicker, because I actually just live in Mooroolbark, which is just in the outer eastern suburbs. It's like Mooroolbark, then Lilydale, and that's like when the country like really starts.
Yeah.
So I live in the suburbs. You know, we have the same bins as the people in Hillsville and Warburton. You know,
it's all that matters.
Yeah,
where your rubbish goes to. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, where our water
mixed in with the trash.
Yeah, spot on, man. Spot on.
But you shoot a lot in the Yarra Valley. It's kind of like your safe space, I suppose.
Totally, man. Yeah.
Do you like to venture out? And I've seen you do a few elopements earlier in between lockdowns, like Great Ocean Road and heading out and about.
Yeah, man. I'll shoot anywhere where people ask. I think it's more of it was more of like a marketing decision a few years ago, kind of when I just started photography full time. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna this is something I'm just gonna market myself as the Yarra Valley guy.
Yeah.
That'll be my thing. So I've always just done that, but I'll shoot weddings anywhere. Totally.
Yeah. Love it. Are you trekking off anywhere interstate next year?
I am. Yeah, I got one up in northern New South Wales in January, actually.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was supposed to happen in July, and I actually went up there in July with my family. We went up there for a family, for a holiday, but it just didn't end up happening.
Didn't eventuate.
The bride was a Victorian, and he was a Queenslander. So it was just during this really awkward time in July. The borders were shutting and stuff like that. And the wedding was in northern New South Wales, like 5K below the Queensland border.
Right. So you've got a Victorian bride, a Queensland groom, and then the wedding's in New South Wales.
Yep.
Yeah, during COVID, that's just not going to happen, is it?
Logistical nightmare. And then they pulled the pin like 2 days before the wedding.
And you're already up there?
I was already there. I took all my camera gear up, and I'm like, I felt bad, but I was like, no, I don't feel bad.
It's you got to sometimes. That's a world we live in.
yeah, man. That was postponed to January. So, you know, by all accounts, it looks like it's going ahead.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, you take a fun approach to weddings. So I've not actually been at a wedding with you, but, you know, we hear stories and we see social media and everything, but it looks like you take a really laid back, fun approach to a wedding, which is really what it should be about. Has that always been the way? And like, is that what drew you to weddings? Just having a great time and a bit of fun?
Yeah, I think I've probably become more like chilled or relaxed, fun. I think I've just become more myself the more I've done it. You know, years ago, I used to wear bloody suits to weddings, you know, and I was probably more serious and professional in my demeanor. I'm obviously still very professional, but I kind of, sometimes people are probably like, has this guy even got his shit together? Yeah. I really like surprising people with like my photos and my images, because maybe my demeanor on the day, they're just like, oh, this guy's got no idea what he's doing. Or he's just here to have a good time. He's not taking any good pictures. So I like surprising people when, you know, my photos are actually all right. But I love weddings, man. And that's like, and getting deep really quickly. That's like one of the things that's scared the shit out of me with COVID is that like I might like, there was a few, we've all had those dark moments over lockdown.
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck, I'm going to go and have to get a real job.
Yeah.
And go and work for someone. That was actually just really scary because I don't want to. I just want to shoot weddings, man. Like it's like I legitimately really love doing it. I can't think of a better job, and I can't think of anything else that I'm as good at doing as photographing weddings. I love doing it. So
what have you done beforehand? Often that can inspire us and kind of make you love it even more because you remember the past. You remember, oh, it's better than that corporate job I had, or
Spot on, man. I've done so many different jobs. I've spent so long trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Yeah, I've worked in call centers. I've worked in help desks. I'm a qualified chippy. I did a carpentry apprenticeship. I didn't love that work. I never hated anything. I was never like, I've never been like, I was never like, oh, I'm doing carpentry work, I'm fucking depressed and hate life. I was never like, oh, I'm working in a call center, I hate life. I've always been like the same dude, like the same happy dude. But it wasn't until like I started shooting weddings. I was like, all right, I legit really love this. This is like, I've like found my thing. I've found what I love doing, and I'm good at doing it. So it's been pretty cool. But
has the photography always been a theme for like hobbyists and stuff? Like you've always had a camera on you, and I think band photography was a thing as well back in the music days.
Spot on, man. It's been a creative outlet more than anything.
Yeah.
That's just something to do. Yeah, I used to photograph bands just for fun and just for a hobby, and naturally that kind of just intertwined into photographing weddings. And here we are 500 or something weddings later. Here we are on a podcast with
That's
you.
Right. Who would have thought?
2021, yeah.
After sitting at home for 6 months, but we're ready to go now. We're ready to work. This episode will come out probably December sometime if you're listening now. But it's officially what we're dubbing the Freedom Day right now, Friday the 22nd of October. We can go to the pub after this. Maybe we should have recorded this in a pub.
We should have, man. El fresco. It's still only el fresco allowed, I think. But
yeah. All those rules, I can't keep up anymore. They're changing so often.
Spot on, man. Ignorance is bliss.
Sometimes it is. Mate, I'm sure over those years, 400-500 weddings, you got some cracking stories for us today. So that's really the crux of this podcast. We want to have a laugh and kind of hear some clangers. I want to hear, first of all, is there any wedding that's really stuck with you as almost that career highlight? Just that day that you just blew your mind, you came back and you were beaming for weeks?
It'd have to be photographing a friend's wedding in Las Vegas. Totally. Like nice. It's never like, it's total dream being able to do that. Everything, the time leading up to that, the time leading up to the wedding while we were over there. It was a good childhood friend of mine. I've probably known him since I was 5 or 6 years old. It was one of those things I was like, oh, am I going to go there as a guest, or am I going to shoot it? And I was like, nah, it'd be crazy. Most friends' weddings, I prefer to be a guest and not shoot it. But I was like, it'd be a crazy opportunity to pass up to not photograph this wedding. So it was just, that was a pretty incredible experience. Photographing a wedding in a different country, and out of all places, like it was so unique, like a small wedding, like 30 people traveled over from Melbourne to Vegas. And it was just, it was something else.
Where did they do it? In Vegas?
At a chapel with Elvis.
Cool.
Obviously.
Las Vegas style. You have to. Do you have to book that in advance, or can you just rock up and get married there? Really? It's become popular now. Okay.
Totally. It's something they booked in advance. But chapel with Elvis. And we went to the Neon Boneyard or Neon Graveyard, it's called, for their portrait shoot where all the old signs go. That was awesome.
Unreal.
Just had dinner at a Mexican restaurant. But the whole day was awesome. But I think it was just that time leading up to the wedding, because we got to spend it with the bride and the groom, and I knew a few of the people over there from Melbourne as well. And went to LA first, and then spent a few days in Vegas. I think we had the Bucks party 3 nights before the wedding in Vegas.
That turns into a movie, doesn't it? Called The Hangover. That's a bit dangerous.
Totally, man. It was like that. We Vegased hard. I think, and I went home the day after the wedding.
Ooh,
but,
okay.
It was a while.
How long were you over there for then? Not long. Week?
Just a week. I think we spent 2 or 3 nights in LA, and then Vegas for 5 nights, maybe 5 nights or 6 nights. Yeah,
fantastic.
Which was epic. Anyone who's been to Vegas will tell you 2 or 3 nights in Vegas is plenty, and I think we had 5 or 6. It was like double. It was
Your pockets are empty by then, and you're almost begging to leave.
Yeah. The biggest challenge was actually the temperature. It was fucking hot. It was the hottest wedding I've ever shot, and I don't think I'll ever shoot a wedding that hot again.
Right.
Just because it was a different kind of heat than what we're used to. It's that desert heat. It was dry heat. I think it was 44 degrees Celsius on the day of the wedding, and then in this dry desert heat. It's wild, man. And you could still we're in, I don't know if the strip was the same, but we're in downtown Vegas. You can still smoke ciggies inside the venues. So it was mental in the hotels and all the venues. So you would be inside breathing in recycled cigarette smoke and air conditioning, and then you would go outside to this 40 just like literally like took your breath away.
Yeah.
That was like, we still got some great photos, but man, it was hard. It was really, really hard, you know.
Yeah.
I think we allocated like 2 hours to do the portrait session. And I think it was the middle of winter. We would have like Vegas the portraits hard in that 2 hours. We would have got a bloody, you know, a car with the top off and driven down the strip and done all that. Yeah. Honestly, it was just too hot. It was really,
it's like 10 minutes, seek shelter, drinks,
spot on,
down.
Man. It was we're all the same. Yeah. I reckon in that 2 hours that we had for portraits, we probably only did portraits for 15 or 20 minutes at the Neon Boneyard. And we spent the rest of the time just in an air conditioned bar. It was too hot. That was not a disappointing part. Like, it would have been cool to just go around to Vegas everywhere and just Vegas the shit out of it. But honestly, I physically don't think it was possible. I don't think anyone was up for it, not even the bride and the groom. But,
and that'll just ruin the day. And I think that speaks to kind of, it's not the photography show. I like to tell people it's not the photography show on the day.
Spot on.
It's about having a wedding and us kind of capturing that and not forcing anything. So if you're making someone, I've done it in January before, one of those just 40-degree days, and you're like, no, we have to abridge this shoot. And look, the thing is, you're not going to get as many photos as you thought. We're not going to go down to that bottom of the hill in the vineyard. That's okay, because if we do, you will regret it. And that's more important.
Yeah, totally. Agreed.
Unreal. How long ago was that?
It was in 2019, August.
Yeah, nice. Have you ever tried to kind of market off it and head over there again and get another overseas shoot? Or was it more special because it was a friend?
Yeah, it's probably more special because it was a mate. And obviously COVID hit, so overseas travel got shit canned. But we got two little kids as well, and it's just, it would be, I think if you're a single dude in your 20s, that whole destination wedding photography thing would be sick. You could just fly around the world shooting weddings. But if anyone wants to fly me overseas to shoot a wedding, like I'll if it's possible, I'll give it a crack. But it's certainly not my prerogative. That's another reason why I felt so lucky that I did market myself as the Yarra Valley guy, because then I could just, like, most of my weddings, man, I drive home and it's like a 10-15 minute drive home after the wedding, and it's manageable, and that means that I can manage shooting a high volume of weddings as well, because they are all close to home, and and I'm not traveling everywhere. But I've got through regional Vic and it kind of it compresses that end of the night, isn't it? Because our job certainly doesn't finish when you walk out the door. It's home and it's uploading and it's sneak peeks and everything, which is so important. 100%.
But when you got a 10-minute drive compared to a 2-hour drive, that helps. Absolutely. Now, I guess that's kind of the highlight of the career. What's a day that sticks with you that was just, and I'm avoiding words. I'm not saying like disaster, and we're not going, it was bad and this and that. Just one of those days where just things haven't gone to plan. It's gone off the rails a little bit, but in the end, you kind of look back and thought that was a pretty epic day.
Yeah, I love it, and I love that. That's kind of like the main premise behind your podcast, man. Which is awesome. And it's a common question that people ask. If you're just chatting with someone at a pub over a beer, people often ask, like, they'll ask about bridezillas, or they're like, tell me, like, what's your craziest wedding story you have? And it took me a few years to get like a crazy wedding story. And I was like, I think 2018 was my first crazy wedding story. So I was shooting for a few years, and everyone always asks that question. I'll be like, most weddings are pretty standard, man. I don't really have one. I've got two that I can share with you. I was like thinking, like, if I was like a magazine, like New Idea, I could like blend the title of those two into one to make it sound even more mental. So the title would be something like, it would be like, all in brawl at wedding and groom ends up in hospital. Yeah. So
You
that's
might have just
actually
found the podcast episode title. Then we can do a bit of clickbait here, can't we?
Yeah. All in brawl with hospitalized groom. Yeah, totally. Which is actually both are true. But that's two stories. Two stories. Yeah, one probably. I'll go into the grooming hospital story second because it's actually it's actually a way nicer story. But the other one was it was literally just a fucking all in brawl at a wedding. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. The bride and groom were involved. There was probably 40 guests involved. 3 cop cars came, took away guests. It was crazy. It was I was just my jaw was just like on the floor. I've never seen anything.
Did you keep shooting throughout?
That's always the first question people ask.
Of course.
I was having dinner. I didn't even, my cameras weren't even on me.
Wow.
Yeah. I was having dinner, I think, with the DJ and maybe the photo booth girl.
Yeah.
We were sitting down, and it was just exactly like a pub fight, like how like a crazy pub fight in the country starts inside, and then just spreads outside, like sprawls.
Someone gets thrown through the saloon doors, and
it was seriously like that, and just spread outside. I'm like halfway through, my dry chicken or whatever I was eating, and then I'm like looking, this is absolutely crazy. And it was just screaming, and like 30 40 people I reckon. And
that's mental.
Obviously I felt sorry, the venue manager, she was the owner of the venue as well, and they lived on site too. She's freaking out. She's like, I need to call my husband. The cops came really really quickly, but it lasted for ages, and I was like, this is like 6:30 p.m.
Oh wow.
Like really really early.
Was it a hot day or an early start, or people getting on it?
Warm day, early start, heaps of booze. Your classic. Your classic.
The recipe for a brawl at a wedding, if there is one.
Yeah, totally. And I was just like, how is this reception even gonna?
Did it continue on?
It did somehow.
Really? Okay.
I thought it wouldn't. I was like, oh sweet, I get an early mark.
Over.
I'm gonna head home. I'm going. See you later, boys. But no, it somehow kind of just all tapered off and simmered down, and they didn't end up doing any speeches or formalities or anything like that. It kind of, everyone just kind of headed back inside, and the rest of the the night was pretty somber from that point.
Do you know what caused it? We don't want to throw anyone under the bus or share anything that we don't need to, of course, but it's like family tensions.
I think it was just family tensions.
Can happen.
That's all it was, just family tensions, like what happens on Christmas Day. You hear stories on Christmas Day at people's houses and stuff like that. It was just that. So, I guess it was nothing personal against the couple or anything like that. It was just there was obviously family tensions or something crazy there. I still to this day don't know exactly what it was, but it was pretty crazy.
That's
pretty
wild,
crazy
mate. That is wild. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then that's obviously
I don't know many other photographers or wedding vendors who have seen like a full on like all in brawl at a wedding.
No, and especially in Australia, as you said, maybe some American pub or American bar, or, Las Vegas Strip, going back to the other one, maybe there, but
totally, man.
No,
totally.
That's mental. So obviously a separate story to the groom in hospital. I'm glad that he didn't get in hospital from that one.
Yeah.
But what's this other story you got then?
Yeah, so that was like it was my first. And it resulted in my I'll send you the photo, but it resulted in my first viral social media post that I ever made. I'd never first and possibly my only viral social media post I've ever made.
Yeah,
but I'd never experienced anything like it. It was crazy. Yeah, I'll share the photo because it's probably still one of my favorite wedding photos to date.
Yeah.
Remind me to talk about that photo in the story if I forget about it.
All right.
But basically, just rock up to the wedding day like you do with any other wedding day. Rock up to groom prep first usually, and the groom's just like, I'm feeling pretty crook, and I was just like, it'll just be nerves, man. Most people are nervous, but he's like, no, I'm really crook. And basically, when you're that sick that it comes out of either end, and you're in the toilet,
ends you didn't even know about.
Yeah, you don't know whether to sit on the toilet or you know where I'm talking. He was that sick. You just just like gastro or food poisoning. I think it was probably just gastro.
Yeah.
And you're that sick and you can't even drink water because your body won't even hold water. It comes out of you in some way.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for the guy. It was bloody horrible. And
that is.
And that's it. We got to the ceremony and he just got through the ceremony. He was waiting inside in the air conditioning for the ceremony just to start. And then kind of just came outside, just got through the ceremony, and then as soon as the ceremony was done, he was just like backstage again, straight away.
That's
and it
it's
just
lucky he
happened.
didn't faint up there or something during the
I know,
ceremony.
man.
That would have
Yeah.
been, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I was just like, he got through that and got married. But yeah, we kind of like soldiered on. Obviously, canapes and stuff were pretty somber because the groom kind of wasn't out there with everyone. And
yeah,
he just couldn't because he couldn't hydrate himself with water. He was just that dehydrated.
Yeah.
The venue took him to hospital to get him put on an IV drip. To rehydrate him. He was just like, he was in a horrible way. Yeah, that was the photo I took. And actually asking how you're asking before about, did I photograph the all in brawl? That's the funny thing when something crazy happens at a wedding.
Yeah.
You know, like I shot a wedding once where they got news after the ceremony that this is like digressing, but for example, they got news after the ceremony that the groom's grandfather had just died. He couldn't make it to the wedding, and he died during the ceremony. Wow. And obviously they were debating whether to tell the groom or that, you know, and they told the groom that after the ceremony, and everyone's crying.
Yeah.
And as a photographer, I'm like, fuck, it's my job to document the day.
Yeah.
But do I photograph these people crying and grieving at a wedding who just found out? Like, I don't know. And that was the same as the brawl. And there was this one moment that happened. The groom was just lying down on the couch. This is at Riverstone Estate in the Yarra Valley, which is an awesome venue. And I'll shout the venue out because this story actually has a really happy ending, funnily enough. And the groom was just lying down on the couch, and the bride was just sitting on the couch, just like kind of consoling him, you know, with her arm on him. And I'd gone out the back into the green room or backstage, whatever you want to call it, to check on the groom. How you doing, man? And I saw that little moment. There was a sliding door that I literally opened, and I saw that, and I had my cameras on me. Yeah. And I was like, and they didn't see me in the room. And I was like, oh fuck, I'll just leave them. It's just the bride and the groom. And I was like, do I shoot this moment? And I shot it. Yeah. Like, and still, and I shared the story online. Everything just goes so crazy. The photo is still like, it says, like, it's one of those photos. It just like says like a million words. But
yeah.
Wow. He went to hospital. He made it back. Yeah, he made it back just for like the end of the reception.
Oh, he made it back to the wedding. So they sent him an ED. He's pumped and full of fluids. He's like, get me out of here, probably. Discharge against advice. Yeah. We got a couple of speeches in, but we didn't get to do a portrait session or anything on the wedding day. Yeah. This is on a Saturday night at Riverstone. And then the venue, we were chatting. I remember the video guy was there, and the venue, we were chatting like, fuck, we got to do something for this couple. Yeah. Like, what do we do? And anyway, the venue just made the call, and they're like, this is the Saturday. And then they're like, we've got the following Sunday night free. So 8 days later. Yeah. And they're like, let's put on a small version of their wedding again for them. So beautiful. They're like, sweet. I was free. Video guy was free. Florist, makeup artist, everyone came back off their own bats 8 days later. And I remember, the groom Mark, his parents were from the UK, and his sister, and they delayed their flights to the UK. Yeah, they were going to head home during the week, and everyone waited again a week later. And we all came back 8 days later just for a small dinner with like a dozen of us, a couple of us suppliers. And they just had perfect weather that day. Riverstone's as a venue in the Yarra Valley known for its sunsets. They had a perfect sunset. Yeah, we did a killer portrait session, and just myself and Tim, the video guy, we got asked to sit down at the table with the family and have dinner with them. Wow, that's nice. Because that was another thing. Awesome. Yeah, the groom was like a big foodie, and he was like, he chose all the canapes and all the food he wanted. He wouldn't even be able to look at it during the day. he wouldn't have. Yeah. So they put on their menu again for them, and that second time it was just a sweet day, and that was like, you know, and finally, you know, you asked like at the start, like one of my career highlights, like when I say the Vegas wedding, because obviously that was just like a fucking cool feather in the hat. Yeah. But honestly, that night we came back, just had the most incredible vibe and energy, just, you know, with like a dozen, you know, them and a dozen of their guests. And it was just a really good happy ending. Yeah. I'll send you the two photos. That'd be fantastic. Photo, and then I'll send you, and I remember, I think I did a follow up to that photo on my Facebook with their like, hey, this is like them happy, you know, and that was like the homepage of my website for ages. That, nice. You know, it's gained a bit of traction. That was that. So, and what went on during the day when the groom's off at the hospital? What was actually happening back at Riverstone? Like, were everyone just kind of hanging out, chilling, eating? Yeah, just hanging out. Yeah, like it was definitely a somber mood. Yeah. It was a super somber mood. Did the bride go with him? No. Okay. No. I mean, she stayed. She stayed. Yeah. But I remember, that they had, it was like a sit down. It wasn't a cocktail wedding. It was a sit down wedding. So, you know, there's like an empty chair next to the bride at the wedding, you know, so they'll always like, I feel like Mark and Anita will always like that's the couple will always look back on their wedding day
as 2 days.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and if they ever tell the story of their wedding to anyone, oh, what was your wedding like? You know, everyone always talks about their own wedding.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll be like, wow, how long you got? You know, and then they'd always tell that about the 2 days. But yeah, first day was obviously.
And that's so common with anything that happens during the wedding or a disaster during the wedding, maybe excluding the brawl. I'm not sure if they'd look back and think, oh, maybe that was a good thing that happened. But it's not uncommon for something to pop up and at the end of the night, they kind of look back, they're like, nah, that was sick. That was good. Like it's memorable. Yeah. It's a story. It's totally real. So that's awesome. They probably will love that in decades to come.
Yeah. And it doesn't get much. And I always like think about that and like, I would never like say it to like a bride who has anxious on her wedding day. But for example, my wife used to be a wedding florist and we dealt with some crazy shit. When I say we, I mean her. Like brides like freaking out about the wrong shade of white in flowers and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, it's a product that came out of the ground. We can't control the white. Like crazy details like that. I'm like, hold on. You could have been the gastro groom.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, who couldn't control his, you know, and ended up in hospital. Like that could have been you, and he's you worried about the shade of white in your flowers. Like, it's crazy stuff, man.
And that's the perspective, and that's why I'm hoping that couples planning their wedding do get something out of this and hearing these stories, because it's all okay. Like. Yeah, it is. And it's, I think it's normal for people to get stressed, and like there's a lot of planning that goes into a wedding, and it's a big event. It's not something we do every day, and I think when you're that involved in it, those little details do start to matter. But it's kind of important to take a step back and think bigger picture and go, you know, you've got to get a team that you can trust. I think that's kind of number one. Like for Riverstone to turn around and all your vendors to turn around and be like, yeah, no, absolutely, we're showing up next week. That says something to you guys. So they've chosen well. And
because all that would have taken is one vendor to be shitty and go, no, mate, I want to be paid again. I'm working 2 days. I want to be paid again. You know what I mean? And not having a heart about it, just to sour that whole situation. But
that's right.
Yeah, especially like obviously Riverstone like had skeleton staff on that second day, but it was like the owners were there, the head chef came back, everyone literally came back off their own bats, and obviously the venue would have worn the cost of all the food and everything again. It was just like, but to worth it to always, you know, and that couple always look back on the venue Riverstone like with the absolute best of memories, you know. And
absolutely. And that client experience is always number one for all of us, really. If you're not providing a client experience, and if the couple's not happy, then you don't really have a business to lean on, as far as I'm concerned.
Man. Yeah, that's the beginning and the end of everything.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That is a couple of wild stories, and I think I will merge that title together because why not? Creative license here, the author's license. But Briggsy, thanks for jumping on, mate, and spreading those stories. That's awesome. You've got I'll of course plug your Michael Briggs photography account, but you've also got a Briggsy's Bites, mate. You're a chef. I saw you got Gordon Ramsay liking your photos as well. Pretty sure he's sending you an apprenticeship.
Jamie Oliver.
Sorry, not Gordon Ramsay. He'd probably rip you to shreds, Gordon Ramsay. Jamie's a nice one, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He is spot on. Yeah, I don't. I mean, again going back to tabloids. There's a lot of info online that Jamie and Gordon dislike each other, but I don't know how true that is. They have very different cooking styles. Jamie's just very slapdash, throw it together, and Gordon's very like precise, in measurements. But that was just a little lockdown project. The food. I've always enjoyed cooking, but it was just something to kind of keep me busy and keep me shooting. You know, like my camera's like right next to me here because I'm shooting my food all the time. You know, because I'm not photographing people at the moment, so it just kind of keeps me using my camera and
starved of creativity. It's not good for us creatives. And that's right, Briggsy's Bites, is that right? At Briggsy's Bites.
Briggsy's Bites.
Yeah, check it out. And what's the latest? I will touch on this before we go, but the band. You got a band coming, and well, not coming. You're in a band. You've been in a band for a long time.
Yeah,
have you got some gigs coming up this year?
No, just because of
COVID again.
COVID.
Are you planning on?
Yeah. We'd love to be playing gigs again next year. Awesome. Obviously, in between weddings and stuff, it's hard. It's hard for the dudes in the band. It's hard when your guitarist is a bloody wedding photographer and busy most Fridays and Saturdays, which is usually when gigs are on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all they're all super understanding of that. No one's in the band to take over the world or anything like that.
Just a bit of fun.
Just a few dads hanging out and making some noise.
Yeah, that's unreal. Well, thanks, Briggsy, for jumping on. Lovely chatting with you
man.
today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
So good. All right, catch you, mate.
Awesome.